Hi, everyone, and welcome to Autism Hope Library. I am just so excited about our next guest. We have Dr. Chris Terrell, and today we're going to be talking about sign of a weakened immune system and how to boost that. And I think this is such an important topic for so many of our families. But before we do, first of all, welcome, Dr. Terrell. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a cause that's near and dear to me, so I feel honored to be able to contribute wherever I can.
Well, I'm excited to jump in, but before we do, can you maybe give those that are watching or listening a little bit of background about why you are so passionate?
There's a lot of reasons, but my father and mother were both in healthcare, and my older son, was diagnosed with autism, being on the spectrum. So it's a hard journey, and anything I can do to at least give a little bit of information to help, like what I've learned, I feel like that'll be paying back all the people that helped me throughout the years. He's 26 now, by the way, and he's doing excellent.
I love that. I think that's such an amazing story, and I think that so many of parents relate to that. We typically, find passion because of our kiddos, and then that kind of guides us on the path that we're on today. So I think you found a perfect field to not only help your family, but thousands and thousands of others. So again, I'm just so grateful that you've taken the time to talk with us today. So let's just jump in. So
Okay.
we're talking today about signs of a weakened immune system and how to boost that. So what are reasons for a weakened immune system to even begin with?
There are numerous reasons why someone could have a weakened immune system. To me, it goes back to the fundamentals: lack of sleep. You need to have 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night as an adult. Children need more, and there's a range. You can talk to your pediatrician about that range. Diet is huge. We have such a processed food diet at this point in our culture. We need to go back to having lots of fruits and vegetables and a good amount of protein, whether that's an animal or vegetable source. There's also things like being born with a weakened immune system. That can be an issue. And then another one could be having some kind of health issue that actually weakens your immune system.
Okay. And so when we're looking at that, because so many of our families, including the parents, not just the kiddos. And if you've seen any of my videos or listened to anything I've done for the people watching and listening, I always say kiddos, but I mean of any age. I don't care if you're 2 or 52, you're somebody's kiddo. But, so many of our families, it's not just the individual that's on the spectrum that could be having a compromised immune system. Often we see the mother, the father, a sibling, maybe an extended family member, like a grandparent, also has some form of another label, right? It may not be autism, but it could be, like I'm seeing a lot of moms out there with hypothyroidism. We see lupus, we see Parkinson's with some of the grandparents, or MS. We're literally seeing these other immune issues popping up. And so, one, we know those are labels, and we know that there's probably triggers, as you said before, with the environment and the foods we're eating and such. But, once we get that label, how do we start, building our immune system?
There are a number of ways, and it goes back to what weakens is also what's good for the immune system. Getting sleep, diet, exercise. Exercise is huge. Going out, especially outside where you have fresh air, sunlight, avoiding stress when you can, a low inflammatory diet. Those are all really powerful ways to help your body, as well as finding the right nutritional supplements for you to help kind of augment those other, things you can do for a really strong immune system.
And as I say that, as I mentioned all those labels, we're not saying that this is going to get rid of those labels. We're saying that those labels often have a weakened immune system. So I want to make sure to put that disclaimer in there. And we're talking about how do we strengthen our immune system, regardless of whatever label we have. So I think that's important for those watching or listening to know that, hey, you might not even have a label, but your immune system still needs to be boosted. But we are talking today about so many of us that do have some form of, like, again, it's like, I always joke that my son has so many different labels. We got so many membership cards. That's what we call it, membership cards, that they forgot to give me my club membership card. So I got all the other ones. But we're always looking at ways to increase his immune system and trying to keep him as healthy as possible. So, let's talk about that now. What supplement is best for the immune system and immune support? Because there are so many out there. If you go down the Google rabbit hole, right? Like you could be in thousands of pages and be so confused. So how do we help navigate our families today?
I mean, finding a good naturopath or dietitian who's knowledgeable in supplements is a good way to start. There are some that are my personal favorites. I'm a big fan, especially over the last couple of years with all the immune challenges we've had on top of everyday stress. I personally love vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, melatonin, elderberry, and colloidal silver. That's my daily regimen of things, along with a very good probiotic.
And so, let's talk about colloidal silver. I know it comes in a tincture, it comes in gel, it comes in different types of creams. Today we're going to probably talking about a lot of it, but we use that in our household. It literally is our go-to for almost anything, to be honest with you. We love the gel and the ointments because especially if you have a teenager, it really seems to help with breakouts. We use it for cuts, we use it for burns. I mean, it really has, to me, it's like that go-to for everything. It's like this awesome thing. And yet they're not talking about it on the 5 o'clock news, which always blows my mind. So for those that might have never heard of colloidal silver, can we talk about, what is it?
I mean, yeah, colloidal silver is a very small particle of silver. There are two different forms. And I'll make it, not go into all the technical talk, but keep it simple. There's the one that's the way you find it in nature, the atomic or elemental silver, and then you'll see the ionic, and that's a form that has one electron taken away. I personally prefer the atomic or the elemental version just because it's more natural. It stays better in solution longer. And this is the one that I've been using for years and that I've had really good results with.
And so I know we have the tinctures and we have the ointments. Let's dive in a little bit about that, because if someone's, let's say, in a market and they're seeing both, what do we use both for? And can we use the ointments? Obviously we can use the ointment topically, but can we use the tinctures? Can we use that topically, or is that just something that we take orally? How does it all work?
That's a great question. You can use the tinctures topically, but since it's in that liquid state, it's very hard to get it to stay on the skin. I personally use the tinctures or the liquids internally and then the gels externally. I found it's the best for it staying on the skin longer. So that's what most people do. That's what I found the best results with.
And let's say somebody doesn't want to take it orally, if you're using a topical, will it still get in the system in the same way? Or if you want a higher dosage, is orally if you're trying to get that in your system better?
There might be a little absorption through the skin, but it's really for topical use. And then the liquids are really just for internal uses to really support the immune system from the inside, where the topicals for the outside of immune support.
And can you mix the tinctures? Like, can you put that in juice, or does it have to be in cold? Can't be in anything heat, or does it have to just be all by itself? And do they have to hold it under their tongue or anything?
No, that's a great question. You can do it in juice. You can do it in cold liquids, hot liquids. You just drink it. You don't need to put it under your tongue. It's not a sublingual. That's why it's so easy to use. And then there's dosages that go from 30 milligrams to 500 milligrams or 500 parts per million. I'm sorry, not milligrams. So it really depends on what you need. I personally do the 50 parts per million as a daily supplement. Just because I feel like at this point, especially when it's getting to be cold and flu season, I want something to give me a little bit of protection every day. And then if you start feeling maybe you're not quite yourself, maybe you're a little under the weather, then you could consider doing a higher parts per million. But again, talk to your naturopath or dietitian who's knowledgeable in it before you make any kind of decisions.
And so do you have to take it away from food? I know you said you can add it to food, but does it do better on an empty stomach, or does it not matter?
It doesn't really matter. You can do it either way. I mean, as long as what my advice to my clients is, whenever you remember to take it is when you should take it. So,
okay. So it doesn't matter AM or PM or any of that.
No.
And so I know for us in our house, I'll just tell you what we call it, a natural antibiotic. That's
Mhm,
like for us, if you feel like that little tingle in the back of your throat. And again, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm talking to you as a mom. I'm
mhm,
just a mom telling you what we do. And what we do is if we feel any little bit of that, like, when you get that little tickle, right? And you're
yeah,
like, oh man, I hope it's nothing going on. Um, I run to the cabinet and I make sure that we take that. And then I start reminding myself, like, oh, I'm not doing this as much as I should.
yeah,
Um, Now with the ointment, as I said earlier, we use that, and I'm not joking. Like I go out of that weekly, depending how big of the tubes I can get. Sometimes I can only get the smaller ones. I'll go through that in like less than 10 days. That's how
yeah,
often we use it. But I have a boy and he's very active, and,
mhm,
he cuts his knee and scripts,
yeah,
falls, or I grab that first and I'm going to use that. I don't use traditional products that you might find, that maybe we saw growing up, but I don't want to name them. But sometimes you might see other what they would call antibacterial or
mhm,
whatever. I trust colloidal silver
yeah,
hands down. I put that on him and that makes me feel really good. If I have to use a little gauze or whatever as his
yeah,
band-aid, and I know that's doing well. I've burnt myself cooking. I will go and I'll grab that and I'll use that, on my skin. Um, my son also is going through like puberty still, which is oh so fun for anybody that's going through puberty. That's a whole other topic. However, what happens during puberty is you get breakouts, and I feel really, really confident and comfortable that we're using that as a prevention for acne or helping treat mild acne or breakouts. I know that it works wonders. I mean, I can't even describe to you when I see a skin and we put it on. We almost use it daily though, because especially in puberty, it's one of those things that you kind of have to. I always joke that I wish you guys had an aftershave lotion, and if you don't, I think you guys should create one, because it's one of those things that my son is 19 and, with special needs, and I'm trying to help him shave, but I'm constantly using the ointments and the gels trying to help make his face not have razor burn and different things. I'm like, oh, why doesn't Silver Wings, why don't they have an aftershave balm or an aftershave lotion? If I really, that's my wish list, if you guys could make one of those.
That's an incredible idea. I never thought about that until you mentioned it, but that is something that I think would be really beneficial because I have sensitive skin. I
Mhm.
can only do like one after I shave one type of face wash, and it's the Progulan face wash. It's the best thing I've seen for sensitive skin for an adult that I've used anyway. But yeah, the silver and an aftershave would be pretty awesome. So I'll mention that to them and see.
Oh,
Maybe we
wouldn't
can
that
make
be
something happen.
fantastic? Oh, I would love it. So, but yes, so that's our go-to. I love it. Now let's talk about some common colloidal silver myths. And I get somewhat annoyed if I go online and I read what sometimes people will say, or they'll make a comment about something. And I wonder like where they got their information, because some of the stuff is like, really, did you just, I don't know where you read that, but especially if you're like our family that uses this on a daily basis and has
Mhm.
just seen just amazing results.
Yeah.
So can we talk about the myths so we can kind of debunk them?
Yes, the main myth is the blue man, which is when you have your skin turns blue from having too much silver. Now, of course, with every myth, there's a little truth. And if you do excessive amounts of silver that is not small particle size, there can be some of that discoloration. It's very, very rare. I think there's only been maybe a handful of individuals. That's why choosing the right company is so important. Someone who has ethics, someone who is testing the product. You really, it ranges between 1 and 100 nanometers, but that sweet spot is between 1 and 10, where it has the most immune supporting capabilities. I personally, like, I mean, some people go, oh, I can make silver. I mean, I personally wouldn't recommend that. Get it from someone whose job is to make sure that it's processed correctly, it's the right size, it's safe. Because I mean, this is our health, this is our bodies. You can't really put a price on it. People do, but I don't. I think you should find someone that you trust to partner with your health.
Well, and I
And
can,
there's other. I'm sorry,
oh,
I
oh,
apologize.
No, I was just going to say, I'm going to tell families that are watching or listening too that Natural Path Silver Wings has been a partner of AHA, a trusted source over here at the Autism Hope Alliance for well over a decade. And we are, we have met you guys personally. We know how you guys operate. We know how clean the factory is. We know the extra measures that you guys take. You go above and beyond, and it's a really, really high quality product. So I just wanted to say that, just as someone who personally knows this company and has known you guys for well over a decade.
Thank you. Unfortunately, there's another, what do you call it, like myth too, that all silver should be clear, which is incorrect. Now, ionic silver should be clear because it is a different form than the atomic or elemental. Now, the atomic elemental, which you'll be able to see in higher parts per million, will range from a light yellow color to a dark brown color. And that depends on the stronger it is, the way it reflects light changes it. So it goes from that light yellow to that brown. Completely safe, completely normal. It's just the way that it works. So, and you'll see different milligram or parts per million doses as well, where people go, oh, well, most people are only 30 parts per million. That's the ionic form. If you have an atomic or an elemental, you're able to go higher parts per million, make it stronger because of the actual original form that it's in.
Wow, I did not know that. That's cool. So basically, we're not going to turn and look like a Smurf.
No.
We're not going to turn blue. And it's really important to find the companies that are knowing what they're doing and keeping it, high quality, which I absolutely love. And I've never even thought to make my own. So that's just fascinating that somebody would try that.
Mhm. I mean, and again, it's really affordable, but the problem is if you don't know how to test it, then you don't know if it's in that safe zone of 1 to 100 nanometers, or it could be larger. And then when you make your own, it's usually the ionic form. And then over time, it starts clumping together. So then it becomes bigger and bigger molecules, which makes it difficult or impossible for your body to eliminate.
Okay, well, that definitely makes sense. So I know that, you can find, Natural Path Silver Wings. I've seen it in the markets. You can get it on Amazon. I'm sure you can buy it directly from your site. I usually get it in the store or on Amazon, but what's your guys' website if they want to learn more about you guys?
Yeah, just do a search for Natural Path Silver Wings. There'll be a website with information. And then you can get, you can do searches. You can go to PubMed and pull up actual clinical research on silver. So if you ever realize it's safe, you can go and look and see the information on it. In fact, they use a silver filtration system on not only the space shuttles, but also the space station. So silver is used for numerous different applications to purify and help get rid of any kind of microbes, to make water cleaner, or to help with the body.
Well, and I know your guys' site is NP, so natural stands for Natural Path. So it's NPS, so Natural Path Silver. So remember that. So NPSWsilver.com. We'll have that here at the bottom of the screen too. I know you guys have, some really great information on there. There's an information tab where to find it in stores. You can find a store there as well. I know they can call you guys up if they have any questions. I know parents, if you're anything like me, anytime I have a question, I call, directly to the source if I'm ever, curious. For other people watching or listening, is there a certain age range, or does it not matter?
Again, I would talk with your health practitioners to make sure there's no other kind of issues that might, contraindicate silver. I mean, personally, for me, I gave it to my daughter as early as 2 years old. And of course, you have to remember, again, that's why it's good to see a professional, because that, 2-year-old might only weigh 30 pounds. So in that case, you can't give them a high dose. You have to make sure you're dosing it appropriately. Like I'll give my daughter the 50 parts per million, but I'll give her 3 or 4 drops. Just a little bit, just to make sure she's getting that immune support, but you don't want to give too much. And again, it really depends.
They could use though, right?
The topical is completely different. Yeah, the way it absorbs is not going to go into the digestive tract and absorb circulatory the same way that the internal would be. So it's much different. Yes.
Okay. And so guys, again, this is just something that if you haven't heard about it, you definitely want to learn more about it. go to their website, Google about it. If you guys have questions that we didn't talk about here, call them up. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer them for you. And again, this is a company that, the Autism Alliance has trusted for well over a decade. And I say that because I think it's important to know, one, that they're our partner, but they're actually making a difference because of companies like Naturopath Silver Wings. We can do these videos, we can give the free education, and we can give you guys this information, because I know what it's like being a parent and you get on Google and you're like, oh my gosh, like, where do I go? What happens? So for those families that are watching or listening right now, Dr. Terrell, that still might feel like, gosh, where do I go from here? What tips do you want to leave them with?
I will definitely be happy to answer that. And like I say, I myself, even doing research, get frustrated with all the misinformation and confusing stuff out there. It's really hard to figure out who to trust when everyone seems to want to, push their own product instead of just put what has been researched. So just keep researching. I mean, and again, go to Naturopath Silver Wings. They can, help you out. They're awesome there. They're family owned, great people. Now, I guess the last thing I want to say is just make sure you can live as healthy as possible with as busy as everyone is. And I've said it many times, I'll say it again: sleep, diet, exercise, fresh air, sunlight, reducing stress, and then figuring out the right nutritional supplements to help augment all those things for optimal health. And then just, because if you go to any health food store, they'll have an immune support section, and you can look and say, okay, there's some different vitamin D's. There's one for children, one for adults, and and the people at the health food stores are very knowledgeable, and they can at least start pointing in the right direction. You can do more research there. You can go at some point soon. I'll have a website up that you can reach out to me. I'm still working on it, but anything I can do to help, I'm gonna try to put out information, and then you'll probably see things on Naturopath Silver Wings website. So, but again, it's just diet, exercise, and then plenty of water. Water, our body is 60 to 70% water. You need to have good, clean water every day.
I think those are amazing tips, and they really sound so simple, yet many of us aren't living by those, and we really should. And sometimes we try to make things so complex that we forget the simple way, with water, exercise, sleep, a good diet, and then finding products that make sense in our regimen. It really is a no-brainer, but yet we get so busy that we're not taking care of ourselves. And often we are running as a parent with a special needs child to this therapy or that therapy or this appointment or that appointment. And, guys, sometimes it's just about getting down to the basics and just remembering, what we have basically for free when you're talking about air, going out in the sun. I mean, I know water is not free, but having a clean water and sleep and finding those supplements to really keep our body at a place where we can be healthy, because we want to be here for as long as we can for our kids, and we want our kids to feel as good as they can. So thank you so much, Dr. Terrell. I really, really enjoyed talking with you today, and I've learned so much. Thank you for this opportunity. Again, I really appreciate being able to reach out to families who have gone through what I've gone through. And if you got one thing out of this interview, that makes me feel good about what I do. Well, I got more than one thing, and I'm just, it reminds me to take care of me, because I'm always running around trying to take care of my kiddo. So I'm grateful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Well, thank you again, Dr. Terrell, and thank you to everyone that is watching. And remember just what Dr. Terrell said, those tips. It sounds so easy, but sometimes we forget that the basics, going back to the basics, is something we can do, and it will just help us feel better and do better, which in turn will help our kiddos feel better and do better as well. Until next time, thanks, guys. Bye.